G'day traders, we're going to wrap up of Tuesday, November 29th. Started the day with an upside bias. Yesterday we saw the end of quite a significant downtrend over the last couple of weeks and saw a lot of buyers around. So then we started today, pre-market buyers around as well, and a nice green candle. So definitely the immediate trend is to the upside, and you want to try and stick with that and look for the market to head higher. So the market opened up, did push down just for the start, came down to this blue line here, which is yesterday's close. So quite often this will act as an attraction for the market. So basically wanted to come down, grab that, get rid of that, and then it started to head back up, which is what we expected. So it headed up about 12 points in the space of 45 minutes. You can see this area here, that's a announcement area, news announcement area, so quite congested and very untradeable. And basically this whole half of the morning untradeable, even though we got nice movement to the upside there. No real opportunities to get on, and what we're looking for is a pullback before we get on. But once you do start to get the pullback, you definitely want to stick with the buys because everything's pointing to the upside. We've got a daily upside bias as well, so sticking with the buys is definitely the best option, and avoid selling, definitely for the first session of the day anyway. So we started to get that pullback. This first PowerPoint can have some good value, but in this particular case, because we had a 12-13 point upwards trend, quite often in this first pullback won't hold as the market tries to pull back a little bit more. And a lot of the other markets too, when you watch the other markets, are all showing quite a significant sell-off, like they want to have a decent pullback. So that's why it's very handy, and suggest watching the other markets, and it really gives you a good idea overall what all the markets want to do. So I would have told you to leave this one. This one here had a lot more value as the markets, it pulled back, and some of the other markets then started to swing round back to the upside. Potential round here to get on the upside. Probably the best opportunity was just here. There was a 5-minute signal, or an unofficial 5-minute signal that came up. It was just within 2 points of the highs, I think, but still great value area, an area where potentially the buyers could really go on with it and go past the 1204 mark. In the end they didn't, but all things considered, it was still a really great area. Once it did push up, from your 5-minute entry, would have got up 7 or 8 ticks. You want to, if you hadn't yet moved your stops to break even, definitely be looking at reducing your risk by putting your stop 1 tick below this. You can see this resistant area here, so basically it's forming a bit of a wall, because once the market does break down here, chances of it getting a bit of a pullback after breaking this resistance area is quite high. So you want to always reduce your risk where possible, and this is a great example or opportunity to reduce that risk. And at the end of the day, if you can be taking smaller stop outs, reducing your risk, and then going for your full profits, that's what's going to make it a lot easier to end up in front every week. Okay, so that's where it pushed up there, then pulled back, 5-minute area. It's come then back and had another go at the highs, and then started to fall away again. So that's an indicator there. You can see twice it's had a go, and 2 great opportunities to go high, and it didn't. So it's an indicator that the buyers might be losing a bit of their power. So at this stage now, we're coming into lunchtime. So even though this area here is a lunch, I thought this power fade here had great value. Okay, like I said, two times the upside failed. Then just round here, all the indicators on the 5-minute chart, so the moving average, the predictives, all heavily crossing to the downside. So an indicator that maybe the sellers are going to come in and take advantage of these weak buyers who just didn't go on with it when they had their every chance to do it. So now we can start to look for some sellers. So this area had great value, continued to push down, had a bit of a pullback. This area here, it was actually a 5-minute signal, so it was actually a buy signal, but because the moving average and everything was pointing to the downside, you can see the market action is definitely to the downside. This is when you take as a fade and look to sell. So this is not a new trend forming. You've got to look at it as a fade, 5-minute fades. It's just picking a pullback and then continuing on the downside. So this, as far as a fade goes, is quite a good example of one. So that fade basically turned the market around on the spot and pushed down, then had another pullback. So basically the predictives on the 5-minute charts reloaded and then started to point to the downside very heavily here again. So this particular area here I thought had great value on the downside as well. Getting on a power fade entry, you had everything going with you here as well. Basically continuing on from that 5-minute fade sell entry. From there it pushed the market down, almost got back down to that gap. And the buyers started to come back again, and towards the end of the day the market just pushed up a bit but went a little bit sideways. So So let me bring over the 5-minute chart. Okay, so we've got 5-minute chart here. So that unofficial 5-minute signal came up around here. So you can see what's good value going with the daily bias. It's pushed up, pulled back, then started to head back to those highs. Got a nice power fade entry in an area where classically these charts can just continue on heading up. So great value in that area there. Then we push down to this signal here, this fade here. So you can see, even though it's a 5-minute sell, everything's clearly pointing on the downside, looking to catch a pullback and then look to sell back down. So great power fade area, great 5-minute fade area there. And then just here there was an unofficial 5-minute sell as well. It would have come up but for the fact it came with an error of this signal, so that's why there's no errors there. But still, the predictive crossing down, the moving average pointing down, had a power fade entry here as well. Just an area where the market looked like it had a lot of pressure and just really want to have a crack and head down to these lows. So great value in this area here as far as selling as well. Then finally we had another setup here. So this is a sell trade as well here. Looks very similar to this sell over here. You can see the moving average pointing down, the predictive pointing down. However, it's failed and failed quite well. But this is an area that I just was not interested in at all. And this is kind of something I want to just quickly take you through to finish off as to why this area is not, why I don't see this as a good area. End of the day, you've got to have, take these areas with a very strong perception of where you believe the market's going. Now, I saw this area as basically the sellers that had a go at the downside. It had its opportunity to go down. So if it wants to go down, this is where it wants to go down here. The fact it's coming back a second and third time makes it less likely to work. So this is where the 5-minute chart is a really good one to follow. So if you have a look here, going back to the start of the day, basically the market's pushed down. It's had a pullback, little mini pullback in there as well. Then it's come back here. It's broken this area here. Okay, so that's a support area. Once it broke that area, it's indicated that sellers around. So it's broken. So that's the first area there. Pulls back, comes back at that area. So this is where, and that's where that 5-minute sell came up and that 5-minute fade came up. So these are great areas because it's coming back at that new low for the first time. It's fresh sellers and a really great area to go with. Once it pulls back a second time and has a go at that area, I mean, this can still often work, but hopefully you can see it hasn't got as much value. It's becoming a little bit stale or a little bit old. And this is a classic example of showing it really well because that 5-minute sell failed dismally and you can see the market headed right up. So this particular area here, not good value at all. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense, and how reading these 5-minute charts or watching these charts, you get a little bit of an overall perception of what's happening, and taking that in conjunction with your trades will help you take more winners than losers at the end of the day. Okay, that's a wrap up. Speak to you soon.